So, good evening to all of you. I welcome you to the Contemporary Elder Sangha, a safe place to speak, to listen without judgment, and to learn. So, let's do that tonight. For the past several weeks, we've been exploring and inquiring about the five kleshas. The kleshas are negative states of mind, mental afflictions or obstacles, if you will, that we all possess. And left unnoticed or unchecked, they will cause us to suffer. We've looked at the first four kleshas. They are first, avidya, ignorance of our own true nature. That's the actual definition. And in a practical sense, ignorance in general about all sorts of things. Then we looked at asmita, ego identification, the I am part of our living. Then we looked at raga, attachment in a general sense to things we like, to pleasures, to that we want to hold on to. And then we looked at dvesha, aversion to what we don't like, to the pain in our lives. So we've gone there. Tonight, we're looking at the fifth klesha, abhinavesha. Abhinavesha is the fear of death and clinging to life. And really, it's more than that, and even more than that. It may manifest as anything from low-grade anxiety to full-on, I'm about to be killed panic. And as such, it may save our skin in one circumstance or smother our life in another. So let's look more deeply at abhinavesha through our own experiences. And I'd like to now turn it over to Mark Silverg and let Mark share his perspectives on this.
Oh, thank
Can
you.
I interject one thing? Because when it's my turn to speak, before Mark does, you're going to need a pencil or a pen and paper or a computer to write on. And I see Jim there. He looks like he's bundled up with mittens on. I don't know if he has mittens on, but there he is. Well, anyway, if you have something to write with, that would be very helpful. So just wanted to warn you of that. So you might grab something nearby.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Daryl. Thank you, David. Yeah, thanks for letting me open this. Death in our culture is the elephant in the room. It's the truth we all carry, but I think we silently agree not to talk about it. We don't. We tell jokes about it. We avoid it. We don't bring it up at Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. But tonight we will. Gloria Steinem once remarked, "The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off." And the truth is, you're going to die. You are going to die. And with that, yeah, I'll share a little bit of my story and my journey. I remember as a kid waking up with night terrors, running into my parents' bedroom, scared. And I couldn't explain it. So I told them, well, there are monsters in my closet. And obviously the monsters turned out not to be real, but that fear, that deep-seated, indescribable fear followed me for most of my life. I'll fast forward to 1973. I was 21 years old. I think it was 4 p.m. on a Sunday when I heard my parents screaming at the top of their lungs. I had no idea what happened. Turned out my 13-year-old sister and her two best friends were hit by a drunk driver and killed. I'll never forget that day. My mother started to disintegrate. Every sob, all her sorrow just took her further and further away from us. And I watched that. and was terrified. And I would not let myself feel any of that pain. My fear was if I let that in, I would disappear too. And in order to survive, I built layer upon layer of calluses to not let that fear in. Um, for me, it was the only thing I thought I could do to survive. Um, and that followed me for decades until about 3 years ago when both my parents died 4 days apart. My dad closed his eyes and died. My mother was on a real slow decline into dementia. And somehow I stumbled upon a book called The Five Invitations by Frank Ostateski, who started the Zen Hospice Center and sat with thousands of dying people. And the book let me see death through a completely different lens. I mean, for the first time, I could just crack the closet door and begin to see what was in there. It's like, oh, you know, maybe I'm wrong about this. And one of the stories he told, which really struck me, was he was sitting with a dying man that said, I never thought it would be like this. And Frank said, be what? What are you talking about? And he said, death. And Frank said, well, what did you think it was going to be like? And the man said, I never thought about it. And that was me. I couldn't think about it. I'm not going anywhere near that closet door. I was not going to let that in. But tonight, we're not looking away. Uh, for me, opening that closet door doesn't make the fear disappear, but when I sit with it, it changes shape. Um, I've learned to listen, and maybe that's the klesha that we're talking about, to see through some of that ignorance. It's been a strange kind of a gift, and it's helped me get a better handle on what matters. So I hope tonight we can explore that and find that together. So, David,
Beautiful.
I will turn this over to
Yeah.
you.
Well, that's a perfect introduction because here we are, as I see it, sitting between the realization of this elegant process of death as we see it in its most flowering terms, and the hardwired fear that we have, everybody has, of the actual experience. So I, I think that there's a way that we can get inside this experience, and I find from working with others that writing is a really good way to investigate what your mind may want to avoid, um, and at times it accomplishes that no matter what we do. And my suggestion would be to go into this experience with as direct an evaluation as you can, as open as you can into what you're actually feeling. So I'm going to give you several prompts. And if you will, be ready to write something. And just to give you some um, kind of coaching on this, this works best if you do not edit. This is the hardest thing to do for intelligent people, is not to edit as they write. So I'm going to ask you to bypass that and just keep writing. If you're using a pencil or pen, just keep the pen going. Let come out whatever you're actually feeling, whatever comes up that bubbles up into your consciousness to write, even if it isn't what you think it's going to be. As a matter of fact, especially if it isn't what you think it's going to be, allow surprise to come out. And we're going to go for 13 minutes to do this. So it's quite a long time to write. So just keep writing. When you think you're finished, keep going, because you probably are not. There's more. No judgment, no comparisons to anything you've ever written before or to Longfellow or Walt Whitman or anybody. Just keep writing. And I think you'll find that you'll have something when you're finished that may be a surprise. So the three, I'm going to put these in the chat. This is what I'm going to do. The three prompts are write about the time you were in danger and how you felt about death. And when I say felt about death, I'm looking at your real feelings. So try to get into your body feelings. Allow your mind to imagine your impending death. I'm going to write these in the chat. Allow your mind to imagine your impending death. Actually, go to that place if you can. We have an automatic hardwired reaction, and it involves fear. We want to stay alive. That's in everyone, even the most enlightened being. So go towards that, the automatic reaction. Write about what you feel in your body as you imagine your impending death. The third one is allow your mind to consider death of the planet. Write about what you feel in your body about that. So I'll put these in the chat. Also, you are welcome to ignore these completely and write about whatever you want, because you may have thoughts that are beyond anything I can suggest.
David, I'm
And there they are.
confused. This is
Yes.
Howard. So I got the time when I was in danger and how I felt about death. Is that two things to write about, or is that one thing to write about?
Well, what I'm pointing you towards is right how you felt about the time you were in danger.
Okay, got that. Then what was
Right.
number two?
Number two was allow your mind to imagine your impending death. Some people have never been in danger of being killed, but they still are going to die, at least as far as I can tell. And I want you, you're not writing about all of these, you're picking one, you're selecting one. These are uh, prompts that you can choose. If you go down below on the menu, there's an item called chat. If you press on that, these three items will come up.
Thank you.
Is that clear, is that clear, Howard?
It is. Thanks.
Oh, good. Okay. I just want to get to my timer here. So we've given enough time to think about it. I'm going to give you 13 minutes to write, and then I'm going to just give you a minute just to look through it real quickly, not to edit, but just to see if there's something there that you can't read or that you want to clarify a little bit for yourself. Okay. I'll come back in 13 minutes. And begin to finish up. Got less than a minute. And finish this sentence, and then wherever you are, stop. And just take a second and look over if you have, big mistakes, maybe in a word that you want to just change for a second. Would anybody like to read? So also let me say, if you don't have judgment about what you wrote, you're an exceptional writer. Because it comes with the territory. It's almost like the fear of death. It's hardwired in most of us. And I'm in writing groups, and one of the rules is do not judge your writing before you read, because you won't read. Almost everybody says that anyway before they start to read. So if you would like to read, I'd sure appreciate hearing what anybody wrote.
I'll give it a go, David.
Okay.
Who said that? Jim?
Jamesy.
James. Okay, thanks, James. Go for it.
One moment, please. I got to get back to my writing page.
That's no problem. We're not rushing. Hi, Joyce. Welcome. We just finished a writing prompt, so you'll be able to listen and hear what people have written. It's pretty interesting. Well, James, while you're doing that, I think Kathy was going to read, so let me have her read first, and then you go. How about, does that sound all right? He's muted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I go ahead?
Kathy.
Okay.
Please do.
I wrote on the imagining my impending death and my reaction to that. And I immediately got into that space, and here's what I wrote. I'm surprised at how much of my energy has been spent in life thinking or worrying about unimportant things. I want every second back, as I chastise myself for spending precious life on things that did not give meaning, but took away from my story. And then I can't make out a word. Something, my life, giving away my story to a larger best. I think the word I was looking for, I tried to shape my life. There's a word, I can't read it, but anyway, I censored my life, giving away my story to a larger quote unquote best story. What a shame. I'm filled with profound regret. My heart aches. My stomach feels sick. I wish I had not squandered my life and had prioritized living more for me. I also want back all of the time I spent judging others. Ultimately, who cares? I'm really sorry I did. Another wave of regret. Sigh. I'm thankful for this writing prompt and fresh perspective, and hope to return to this mentally when I'm stepping out of my authentic existence.
Thank you, Kathy. S- I'm I'm just going to let people read and not comment, and we can comment later because I don't want to have any comments from myself. And James, are you ready? James, are you ready?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yep. Yep.
All right. I'm so sorry. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I've been in peril of losing my life. I shot a deer with a bow when I lived in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Um, and on the day before, with a bow on the day before rifle season. And um, I thought that I would find it 5 minutes out my back door and spend a day. Uh, Let me see, and spend a day. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, and spend a day finding it, uh, skinning it, dressing it, bringing it home, and processing the animal. And I was impelled to, or not impelled, but I had to go get it because the next day rifle season would open, and I wasn't licensed for that. And so, as rather than 5 minutes, I came upon the deer and it wasn't frozen, and I tracked it all day long, uh, and ended up with dark falling about 5 miles from my home, along a meandering and newly frozen river, where my home was the first place. Um, there it is. And so again, being all out, thinking I was going to be out for an hour tops, and now it was from dawn till dusk, and being away from home. Um, I figured I had to get home before dark because I had no light with me, because who would need it or anything else? And
Oh,
I, instead of and at this time, well aware that hypothermia could lead to brain fog. Um, and I'm not even sure just what my state of mind was. My choices were try building a makeshift shelter and fire and spend the night out, or make for home. So skating on the ice of the river felt quick and easy for about 100 yards when the bend currents left thin ice and I fell through into the river. Slow and mucky, I had to fight through the broken ice, claw my way up the muddy, brushy bank, soaking wet now, cold sinking in, and a bit and panicky. So, I think the first strong emotion was, I'm thinking I'm pretty much fucked at the time, and but I really at this point had no choice, and I started busting brush for home through the dark. My home was the first downstream from my position, and again, in this place, there were no other homes. Mine was the closest at the time. So I really don't remember anything about that 5 mile hike. Um, really nothing at all. But knowing that if I stopped, I'd fall into a dream and likely not wake. And there was nothing but go hard, and stopping was not an option. I'm telling the story, so I guess I made it home. When I reached the door, I asked my wife at the time. I asked my wife at the time, 3 times, who was more pissed than worried, to draw a warm bath. I really couldn't care less about her thinking. Just bring me some warm broth, okay? and, and that's where it ended. Um, and so I was actually a very young man at that time, and very lucky that I was a young man, because that's likely how I got out of that one alive, kind of torn up, and you know, didn't actually get a sharp stick in the eye, but Yeah, it was. I guess it was just The overwhelming thing was, uh, there is no other choice. You got to go. That's what you got to do.
Mm, beautiful. Thanks, James. So I'm just going to continue to ask people who would like to read. Howard, please.
Yeah, thank you. I had two. Well, I took two of them, and the first one was I was a young boy, and I had a dream. Well, actually, I used to from time to time we would go to the fun house in San Francisco, and they had all these different rides, and one of the rides was this flat surfaced plate, and in the center of the plate it was flat, but the sides of the plate were curved, and everybody would get on the plate and it would start spinning, and the idea was to be the last person on the center of the plate where it wasn't where you could stay and everybody else would have fallen off. So I had a dream, and I was a young kid, and this when I was having this dream, I was on a spinning plate just like that at the funhouse, and I was naked, and I was being attacked by hot needles that were being stuck into my body everywhere, and I had no way to protect myself. I was like being attacked, and I didn't know what to do. I actually felt like I don't even know what I felt. It was, I don't know. And so what I noticed was I couldn't protect myself. And so somehow I woke myself from the dream. But the terror that I experienced in the dream continued, and I felt like I was spinning and completely ungrounded. I couldn't return to sleep. Um, and I didn't really know what to do. My brother was in the room, but you know, I didn't really know what to do with that. So what I did was I took my hand and put it on the wall behind me as a way to ground me.
Mm,
Um, and I don't know how I came up with that idea, but that's what I did. So for the next couple of months, because the recurring fear would continue, and I didn't know any better to tell anybody about this. So the way that I would handle it was I would take my hand and put it behind the wall as a way to um, keep me safe and keep me grounded. And I didn't know those terms at the time. Um, so and I don't know that I was thinking that I was dying, but the terror and the fear, I don't know if that's a part of the death experience. The other piece of this was I actually saw my dad die. I was there when he did pass. And there was something about the energy of the room when he passed from physical to non-physical. There was something about the energy of the room that was completely, I didn't expect it, but it was completely spiritual. That's the only way I know how to explain it. It was like a spiritual, something that happened, and a spiritual event. And again, I don't know the term, but it was like an amazing thing to be present to. And it was palpable. I could feel it. The word I would use is be amazing. And I have no idea if that's what happens when people pass from existence to non-existence. But I'll stop there.
mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks, Howard. Yeah. Who else would like to read what they wrote or speak?
I'll read, David.
Did
I
you say
was,
that, Gary? Okay, I
yes, yeah,
couldn't tell
it's
who was
Gary.
talking.
Yeah.
Good,
So
thanks,
this is
Gary.
about danger and how I felt about death. We were in Nicaragua doing a dental mission, and after we were done for the day, we went to the beach to relax. I was there with my family, and we were kind of wading out. It's kind of a low, flat area, but all of a sudden there were a series of waves that came in, and soon we were chest deep in water, and I got swept out. So I was caught in a rip current, and I don't know how far I went out or was carried, but then the current kind of took me down the shoreline. So I was treading water and slowly making my way back towards shore. And I have no idea how long I was out there, but it was light. And then next thing I knew, the sun was going down. Um, so as I was out there and the waves were coming over me, I started wondering if there were any sharks in the area. Um, and I also wondered if this was how my life would end. At that time, strangely, I felt a calmness come over me. I hadn't given up hope, but I felt like everything about death would be peaceful. I let go of all the things that I was worried about, and then I became aware of another person being close by. And anyway, he looked at me. I saw him, and he asked me if I was okay, and I said, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm getting tired." But anyway, he ended up helping me get back to shore, and once I got to talking to him, he was from Australia, and he was a lifeguard there, but he was in Nicaragua for his surfing competition. So it was kind of fortuitous for me.
Yeah,
Lucky. I was very fortunate.
beautiful. Yeah, I'd say that's very interesting, and very lucky. You wouldn't be here, I guess, without him.
Right.
You'd be speaking to us from afar. Would anybody else like to read? I see Ed's lips moving. Daryl.
Yes. Am I muted? No. Okay.
No.
This happened at Brown's Hole, a swimming hole on a creek outside of Chico, California. Happened a long time ago. About Brown's Hole. The swimming hole was great. I felt invincible, loved. So I dove and I swam underwater to the hole in the rock. Easy. I'll get through. No sweat. I swam through the hole and into the tunnel. And then I was stuck at my hips. Panic.
Ooh.
I'm not moving. Running out of air. Then calm. Give this my best. Try, try, try. Fear. I'm going to die now. Fight it. Fight it. Almost gone. Panicking again. Then I was free. Relief. I'm alive. Sunshine as I broke through the surface, like it didn't even happen.
Wow. That's very sensory. I really, really thought that was great, Daryl. Yeah. You feel how immediate that felt. You were there.
Yeah.
I was gasping for air.
Underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Yeah, it was profound. And then I was so embarrassed by it that I treated it like it didn't even happen. You know, when I
Yeah.
got to the surface and saw my friends and my girlfriend, it was like, hey, it was great. You know, yeah.
Ah, beautiful. Ed, did you want to read?
Sure. So I took the first one, and you had said right about the time you were in mortal danger and how you felt about it, felt about death. Sad to say, there's been more than one time, so I just decided to say right about the first time that I was in mortal danger and how you felt about death, because it did change over the years and whatnot. So this is what the pen made me write. I'll take no credit for it. There was never a time when there was no danger. Overt, covert, known, or a surprise kick in my socially threatened ass. Danger was an underlying litany of psalms and questions and suggestions, if not rules, for how to be and stay alive. And when that constancy of being mortal met a time of irrevocable certainty that this is it, the body and mind took on a new face. The body for a short period of time was a battlefield, felt like a battlefield. The chest got agitated and felt tight, and my lungs picked up the pace for breathing in and out as if any moment I wouldn't have access to air. And this made my head hurt, and I felt somewhat dull, but present enough to be a distraction to myself and move me slightly away from looking at death in the face. And strongest of all was the stomach that knotted and gave way to panic. My mind remembered going to bed hungry, with the stomach searching for content and relentlessly squeezing open, shut, open, shut. And this face of death gave me a look that I registered as pity on self-reflection. And I was mad, really mad, not upset, that I wouldn't get to satisfy the hunger and stave off a painful, embarrassing end. And I felt there was no pity. And this led to a tide of regret and puzzlement that left me feeling defeated before there was even a fight. In everything, I felt powerless over something that controlled all of my senses and my well-honed logic, left me screaming inside at being defeated, screaming at the reality that I had absolutely nothing. That's it.
Oh boy. Beautiful. Beautiful. Good description.
Thanks.
And poetic in a prosy kind of way. Thanks, Ed.
It's me.
Anybody else like to read?
Yeah, I have something else to read. It's Daryl.
Oh, good.
Here goes. What is it about those suicidal thoughts? Those moments I felt so low that the tree I was driving toward invited me to drive right into it. It felt easy. It would be so easy. Then it popped. I felt life's pull. I can't do this. And I drove on. Never told anyone, just held it. Part of me, I guess.
Wow. Powerful.
Powerful, yeah.
Thank you, Daryl.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anybody else want to read? You're going to force me to read if you don't read. Step up here.
I'll read one more.
Okay.
And this is about the world's impending death. All things rise and flourish, then go back to their roots. Our world, too. This is known and not known. I feel sad, afraid and clear.
Beautiful. I hope the end of the world doesn't happen that quickly. Howard.
Yeah, one more. Thank you, Daryl. So one of the things that I like to do or used to do was I would make oil and vinegar salad dressing. And I would, add a salad to it. And sometimes I added too much vinegar. So one night I made a salad and I had put vinegar and oil in it. And I made a little too much, and it's apple cider vinegar, and I added a little too much vinegar, but I didn't know that. So I finished the salad. There was a little bit of dressing left. So I had a little bowl and I slurped it all up. But I didn't know that the vinegar, that I had more vinegar in it. And all of a sudden, my throat closed. I could not breathe. It was a sensation of panic. Panic is the only thing I can describe it. And I couldn't breathe. And in that moment, I wasn't being reasonable. I was completely not reasonable at all. I didn't know what to do. And after a moment, though, the vinegar ebbed, and so my breathing returned to normal. But the experience of that, of the uncertainty of not knowing what to do, that came up when I was out of this experience. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Howard. Yeah, that's real. Anybody else? Judy.
So this one tags a little bit onto what Howard has said.
Party down here yet?
So it began at 4 a.m, the first full day of vacation, a much longed for respite for my little family. Pitch black summer morning, going to board a deep sea going vessel to head out into the Atlantic searching for tuna. I wasn't wholly delighted with the plan, but I was prepared to enjoy the day. We walked down the dock, deeply dark sky. I could see the boat, the captain, one other fisher folk. We headed out of the marina in the dark, dark night, and though there were running lights on the boat, everything seemed to be covered with the darkest of velvet. No moon, not many stars, just the summer air. Once out of the marina, the captain increased the speed of the boat. I was sitting in the tall chair next to him, my husband standing between us. We both noticed that the captain, as speed increased, was peering out the window by his side and wasn't looking at instrumentation. No LORAN, no sonar, no nothing. Just an old-fashioned head out the window to see if other boats or obstructions were in our path. The captain increased speed to the point where the boat was planing over the water, and I became anxious. In my stomach, there was a furry animal running around. The sound of the boat increased. It became screamingly loud. It was the sound of fear, and I became panicked. My heart jumping, my hands gripping, my legs squeezed together, and I screamed for my husband to ask the captain to slow down. And over the roar of the engines, I saw the exchange and the assurance from the captain that all was well. My husband put his arm around me, but I could not stop the panic. Every atom in my body expected death at every second. The fear was so physical. It was a gripping of every part of me as if I was already mummified. Gripping neck, eyes, hands, arms. The chair I was in, I was paralyzed and couldn't move. I heard myself screaming, I don't think I screamed, but I heard myself screaming for the captain to slow the boat. It was hell. And then it happened. The boat hit something and came to a complete halt. I was thrown forward into the instrument panel. My husband hurled down the stairwell to the hold, and I passed out. When I came to, there was just the beginning of light, of dawn. And after that, the hospital, the boat being towed, all of that. But what I am left with is incredible fear of speed in the dark.
That's powerful, Judy. Really. Yeah. So we have experiences that intensify that innate fear that we have, or focus it right there. Yeah. It's like heights, heights for me.
Speed for me.
Well,
Good.
if that's the case, I'll read you a short one.
Okay.
It'll address both of those. It was hard to hear the tower through the cheap, crackling ceiling speaker. Turn crosswind, I thought he said. I was wrong. The other plane seemed way too close. I turned out of the way. My heart tried to pound through my chest, pulse rate, adrenaline-infused fear. What to do? I was instructed to keep flying downwind, away from the airport. Sun setting. How am I ever going to get back to the airport? I called the tower. Student pilot, I said, need to land, bring me back. Hand shaking, coming in too high, too fast. There would be no second chances, no go around. Put it in the ground, or put it on the ground. I bounced it in and walked away. I sat there shaking. My instructor came over. I refused to get out of the plane. He finally coaxed me out. I got to the propeller lounge and heard the other stories, the other failures from the other pilot instructors. 2 beers later, I was calmer.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was going to die that night.
Anyone else want to read? Okay, I'm going ahead then. Beam me up, Scotty. I've never felt the hot breath of death on my neck, yet it hangs in my future like a bat on a dark cave wall, whispering to me, be afraid, be afraid. And so when I go to that place, I feel a strong vibration in my chest that is not, as it usually is, laughter. It is, I think, the voice of fear. It feels dark and stormy, with the energy that I cannot get past. I can peek at the edges where I see light and friendly beings welcoming me. I can see grief for others who have passed. I can see complete avoidance where I am unaware that it is coming. But in my heart, I know it is coming. I want to welcome it. I do, but I do not welcome it. I resist with every fiber, immersing myself in the joy of life, the moment by moment absorption into the moment by moment. Why should I dwell on the feelings that I will experience? Because it makes me more whole. I can come in touch, even in a small way, with my eternal nature. I feel my vulnerability, my humanity. I muse on the afterlife and consider reincarnation or finality. Will God and I be pals? Will he recognize me? I've changed a lot since we last met. I'm guessing. See, it's so easy to drift away and smile into the denial that becomes unbidden. But the fear that is deep and travels down my throat to my heart, to my belly, where it smothers all laughter. What can I do with that? Just be. Revisit the feeling once in a while to give my life the appearance of completion as best I can, and return to the deep immersion in my time here with you and you. I thought I was done, but there's still 3 minutes left. So I will dive back in to see that the surrounding that fear of death is a quiet place of stillness. Somehow the fear and the stillness, though opposite, are being there in unity. In that unity is the mystery.
Mm.
Yeah, that was fun. I hope you guys had a good time with that. I got so much out of your reading, and I'm open to discussing if we have a few minutes. So, for me, I noticed when I was writing how easy it is to go into avoidance and not want to feel it, and how hard it is to really feel what the fear might be like at that time. I could hardly do it. Anybody else have that experience, or whatever experience you had? Unmute and
I,
speak.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think the fear becomes, I don't think you can sit in the deepest fear for long because it's so exhausting. But I think it becomes at least for me, it becomes anxiety. It becomes this sort of lesser fear that can vibrate on the outside. And
Mhm.
so I know when I have this sense of anxiety that I need to go back and look what's under it. What's the deeper fear that's triggering that? So in my
Mhm.
case, anytime I get in the car, there's speed involved, and I'm going to have to be with it, understand it,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that informs that
right,
kind of strategy or whatever it is you do,
right.
however you can be. Beautiful. I think,
Let's
yeah,
see.
Daryl.
Yeah, I just want this conversation has me think about the story of a friend of mine, a guy named Jeff. He was my college roommate, and he went through Naval ROTC, and then he became a Navy pilot flying A-7 jets off of an aircraft carrier somewhere way out in the oceans. And he, after a few years of doing this flying, taking off and landing off of aircraft carriers, he got the yips. And, he ended up having to leave the Navy because of that. But I try to imagine him every time he was trying to bring that plane down onto the deck of the carrier, imagining his death or kind of seeing his death unfolding in front of him. I imagine the sheer panic and the difficulty of fighting that to actually land the aircraft and not die. And then I think too about, as you were talking about, Judy, the kind of anxiety that he must have carried around with him every day between missions, imagining that he had to go into the mouth of death again. And boy, what he must have felt.
Yeah. 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 People who work with the edge of death, surgeons, it's, it must be very informative to them, but very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody
Okay.
else? Okay, continue, Daryl.
Well, what I'd like to do is kind of shift gears a little bit. If no one has anything else to say, let's shift gears and have Ed lead us in a short meditation.
Hey, Daryl,
Howard wanted to say something.
Yeah.
before you go there, I was sitting here, something came up for me, and I don't know, I want to just put it out there.
Yeah.
And that is the idea, this whole conversation around death. We haven't gone here, but I'm sitting here wondering if it's culturally generated. Fear-based resistance. It's almost talked about as that's the way it is. It's a part of life. And we're even having a conversation that's around that. And I'm just curious, it brought up for me, and I'm not saying we should go there, but what if culture shifted from fear to something gentler, kinder, less resistive? Now, maybe that's my resistance to this, and it could be. But and then the other piece is, I wondered, is this whole idea that we're having some kind of, is death, the way we frame it, an initiation event? And you hear people talk about the other side and people who have died and then come back. I mean, so I'm just curious, and I'm not suggesting that we should pursue this now, but it did come up for me to, these ideas came up for me out of this conversation.
Yeah, thank you. That is certainly something to consider.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic. Maybe we want to have a call around that topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Maybe.
there's a lot that we could, there's another initiation that we have not, that we don't pay attention to. And that's the initiation of to become elder. There is no cultural step that says, okay, this is now there's no formal,
Right.
now you are this. So those two initiations, those the last two of life, might be very great
Yeah.
conversation to have.
We
I
should have a
think
bar
it's,
mitzvah for elderhood.
Right.
An elder mitzvah.
Right, the 75 mitzvah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, Howard, because that I think is really very important. And I think that fear of death is universal at the primal level, but
Yeah.
culturally, what happens, like you get the Tibetans with the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they recognize there's a fear of death, but they have a way to address that and live with that, where you might get something, in Protestant church, where there's a fear of death, and the response to that is, make sure you pay penance and go to church so you go to heaven instead of hell when you die. But yeah, there is a cultural difference that's there, and it's important to understand that, I think. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah.
Wendy, I saw your note in the chat. I'd like to invite you to speak, from your perspective as a death doula. How do you look and think about this? Please. You're muted.
Thank you. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I'm new to this circle, so I tend to take a listening approach,
Mhm.
just to, I just like to listen. But yes, these last few comments very much dovetail with my perspective. As a death doula, I don't really fear death. I actually almost walk towards it, in that often, not always, but it's not unusual after I meet, whether it's an animal or a person, could be within a year, a couple of years, they're diagnosed with something. And I find myself going, that is why I've come into their circle. To me, it is a cycle, as in delivering in, delivering out. But I think the hugest thing, and we've just touched on it, it's cultural. I tend to be sort of, lay Buddhist, the Tao. So very much that Eastern philosophy that this is just an earthly walk here. I shouldn't say just, we're full of gratitude for life, but it's part of a cycle. And there's no beginning and there's no ending. And there'll be other forms. And it's just a transition to something else. And if I'm dealing with people who've lost pets or loved ones, I often will say the adjustment is getting used to recognizing them again in a different form. But one of the greatest things I have found in dealing with people, when they're terminal and they know they are going, is regrets. And I think sometimes this is where the fear will come from. They have regrets. There's things that weren't tended to. And so they fight it because, I just need to fix that, or say I'm sorry. And so to go in peace, I always say to people, ahead of time, because none of us know when our soul contract is up, is make sure that in this lifetime, even if the person is gone, you can do it spiritually. Forgiveness, and not to confuse forgiveness with condoning, whatever the act was that hurt. That is to message yourself to say, I am safe. I have forgiven. I'm not carrying that with me. And people who work in hospices will say the ones who go most gently are those who can kind of say, it's okay. I tended to everything. I gave forgiveness where forgiveness needed to be given. I apologized, just took care, have everything in order. And to me, it is the word peace. Can you go in peace? And ask yourself that right now. And if your answer is no, then go to the root of that. Why not? And take care of that. And I think once it's very liberating, once you have done that, there is nothing to fear. It's, we all know we're going to die or end this cycle and prepare for the next. And I think perspective, I just see life as, from the time we're born, we begin our walk home back to the absolute sun and the origins. And so I tend to prepare for death rather than resist it and fight it and turn away. I prepare for it and do it with joy, where what a great earthly walk I have had.
Mhm.
How wonderful is that? So that just gives you an idea of a different lens, because I think it does come down to so much of Western culture is age define and death define. And what a delusion and illusion that most people are going to find very disappointing, because none of us get away from it. So thank you for the
Mhm.
invitation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, wow, it's really something to hear your perspective on this. Thank you. Thank you for your courage and, just speaking with us too.
Thank you.
When you talked about the regrets that people have, that part of the conversation had me thinking that perhaps a person could be not fearful of death, but still very clinging to life, to the unfinished business, to the wanting to resolve the regrets, those sort of things too. Um, just a
It's the
thought.
clinging. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, that
yeah.
was the perfect word, Daryl, is the clinging. And again, in Eastern philosophy and Taoism, Buddhism, that is all part of the practice, is non-attachment,
Mhm,
non-clinging. You can't feel lost if you have never had the perspective of owning.
mhm.
It's everything is impermanent. And in a great, lovely Tibetan Buddhist, and just in the last couple months I spoke to, and this is what he talked about: what humanity suffers so much because we want to cling to something that doesn't exist, which is permanence. We don't want anything to change. We don't want to die, but we all are. So it's a case of you can come around to that non-clinging aspect to it and realize impermanence is life. Just as if, the sun rises and the sun sets and the moon and the seasons, everything changes. The falling leaf of the tree, but it's not the end. It becomes organic matter and helps something else to
Mhm.
grow. That is the cycle.
Well,
So,
I want to
yeah.
jump in
Yeah,
here just to say I think we've got lots to talk about. So
yeah,
we're going to put this off for another time, and let's let Ed do his meditation and come
yeah.
back to this,
It's
because
also,
it's a lot of subject.
Ed,
yeah,
start to take
Yes,
us home.
you're muted, Ed.
it's muted.
Sorry, I was being a genius. Were you about to say something, Judy?
No, I was just saying it's 16 after the hour. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't want Zoom to cut us off.
Okay.
No. So thanks everybody for everything that's been said and thought. So let's just take a moment, get settled into our seats. Comfortably sit up straight. Get your feet firmly placed on the floor. Put your hands in a comfortable position in your lap or on your legs. And take a deep, slow inhale. Hold for a count of 3, 2, 1, and slowly exhale. Let's do that again. Deep, slow inhale for a count of 3, 2, 1, and slowly, fully exhale. Continue with that breathing, and let's pay attention to the body. Gently close your eyes and feel your face. Squeeze and release your eyes. Make a little smile with your lips, and then relax with your cheeks and your lips. Let your neck feel tall and loose. Gently lift your shoulders toward your ears, and then make friends with gravity, letting your shoulders fully relax towards the earth. Feel your chest and then your belly soften, letting go of tension with each exhale. Take a deep breath and exhale. Gently close and open your hands 1 or 2 times in your lap, and feel any tension that's in your legs release. Place your focus on your breath and continue with slow, steady inhales and exhales. If your mind is occupied or becomes occupied with thoughts, just be aware. Observe them, but don't try to follow the thoughts or block them out. Just observe and breathe. Notice if there's any feeling of anxiety or unease that comes into your body with your thoughts. Again, breathe and observe. Don't try to name or explain anything. All of those feelings are an energy, and it's energy you can cope with. Stay connected with your body and breathe. Breathe through every stress, every worry, every anxiety or fear. Allow each breath to be a mental reset button. Breathe, reset, breathe. Breathe, reset, breathe. Stay present and focused on just each moment. Allow these 4 remembrances to move you past the barriers of fear. Remember, number 1, that I will remember patience. And 2, I will embrace kindness. And 3, I will express compassion. And 4, I can and will see with clarity. Remember, even for times felt to be truly terrible or unwanted, this too shall pass. And if we face life honestly, so will moments that bring profound joy and happiness also pass. But living with the kleshas is not about being happy or sad. It's about a deep and powerful understanding of the nature of our reality. Instead of struggling to achieve perfect circumstances, through awareness of the kleshas, we have a pathway for finding behaviors and perspectives to get us through all changes. And that makes the statement, "This too shall pass," a potent reminder that fear is an energy and you have the power to guide it. Now take a couple of slow breaths in and out. Gently open your eyes and know you have the strength, the presence, and the tools to be the best self you can be. Namaste.
Namaste.
Back to you, Daryl. Thank you.
Ed, thank you so much. I feel so calm and at the same time so encouraged by what you've said. Thank you. I'm going to close this evening with a spiritual passage from the Gaelic tradition. The first part of the passage is preparation to pray, and then we pray. The title is Silence. I weave a silence onto my lips. I weave a silence into my mind. I weave a silence within my heart. I close my ears to distractions. I close my eyes to attractions. I close my heart to temptations. Calm me, O Lord, as you stilled the storm. Still me, O Lord, keep me from harm. Let all tumult within me cease. Enfold me, Lord, in thy peace. Amen. And thank you so much to all of you. It's really been a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Namaste.
Aloha.